Hey guys, quick little disclaimer before the video starts. This is a project from my previous channel that I am re-uploading onto this channel, so if the audio and backdrop is a bit different from my first video, that's why. Also, I know a lot of my subscribers came from that first demonology video, so if you're here wondering when there will be more demonology stuff, I'm almost finished with the occult demonology overview, so that will be the next upload. For now, enjoy this creepy little story. So I'm sure you've all heard of Annabelle. As far as haunted dolls go, that's probably the most widely recognized name. But what you might not be aware of is that there are actually quite a few other dolls out there with similarly creepy stories. Today on Explaining Horrors, we travel to the lovely nation of Japan, where they too are harboring their own Annabelle inside Mannenji Temple. In 1918, a 17-year-old boy named Eikichi Suzuki purchased a doll for his 2-year-old little sister Kikuko while traveling in Sapporo, the capital city of Hokkaido, Japan. Eikichi was touring the region for a maritime exhibition when he seen the doll, claiming that it instantly drew his eyes when walking by a shop window. He knew immediately that he needed to buy it for his sister and used the last of his money to purchase it. The doll, standing 40 centimeters tall, was dressed in a traditional kimono with pure black glass eyes and raven black hair cut in the traditional Okappa style. Eikichi traveled home and gave the beautiful doll to his little sister, who fell in love with it immediately. The doll quickly became Kikuko's favorite toy. She took it everywhere, never allowing it to leave her side, and she played with it every day. It's said that she would treat the doll as if it was her little sister. She would talk to the doll at length, sleep with it, and even pretend to feed it. Kikuko, for whatever reason, decided to name the doll Okiku, a name very similar to her own. It's worth noting that in some variations of the story, Eikichi's little sister is actually named Okiku herself as well and not Kikuko, so if that's true, then she named the doll directly after herself. Now, none of this is entirely out of the ordinary when it comes to little girls and their dolls, but within the context of the story, it's a bit creepy to look back on. So, about a year after receiving the doll from her older brother, tragedy struck. In 1919, yellow fever had plagued the nation of Japan, and Kikuko was unfortunately one of its victims. It is said that she died in pain, gasping for air and very afraid on January 24th, 1920. A terrible way to go for such a young child. Note that in some variations of the story, it's actually the Spanish flu that killed Kikuko, which also makes sense because that pandemic was happening around the same time as yellow fever, with a death toll of over 300,000 in Japan. Either way though, she got sick and died, and when she died, she was firmly clutching the doll in her hands. Her parents originally wanted to bury the doll with her. However, somewhere within the funeral planning and understandable turmoil of this very challenging time, the doll never made it into Kikuko's grave. Because of this, the family decided to instead keep the doll at home on an altar commemorating Kikuko's life, which is a common practice in Japanese households to honor their dead. In other versions of the story, however, Kikuko was not buried at all, but rather cremated, and her ashes were placed on the altar next to the doll. It's unclear which version is the truth. Soon after putting the doll on the altar, however, strange things began happening to the family. The first thing the family noticed was that the doll's hair seemed to be getting longer. It was once at shoulder length with neatly cut ends, but was now down to her waist, messy, tangled, and full of split ends. The color of the hair even seemed a bit off. At night, they would have dreams about Kikuko, which I would say is probably pretty normal given the circumstances. However, occasionally, when they would wake up in the morning, the doll would be by their side in the bed, despite them never removing it from the altar. These strange occurrences would soon evolve into a flurry of supernatural events. The doll would be found in different places throughout the house, lights would flicker, they would hear loud banging, knocking on the walls, small footsteps through the hallways, and even strange voices. These occurrences would apparently get more aggressive and frequent as the year got closer to specific dates. Kikuko's birthday, and the day she died. Eventually, the family as well as spiritual leaders from the town that they consulted became convinced that the spirit of their late daughter was trapped within the doll. Instead of attempting to destroy it or rid themselves of this terrifying doll, however, the family actually came to accept it. They viewed it as a unique experience to interact with the spirit of their dead daughter, who they missed very much. In 1938, however, the family moved to a different district. Some reports claim that this is because Eikichi was drafted into the Imperial Army just ahead of the impending Second World War. But they decided that they did not want to bring the doll with them, fearing that taking it away from the area where Kikuko was buried, or in other variations taking it away from the location in which the activity began, would take away the magic held within it. The family instead asked the local temple if they would take the doll in and take care of it. The monks there accepted the offer, having heard many stories of the doll already. The family instructed them to always keep the doll's hair trimmed and to make sure she is locked up at night. And to this day, Okiku the doll remains there at Mannenji Temple in the town of Iwamizawa, Hokkaido, Japan, where tourists can actually visit her at her shrine and have one-on-one alone time with the doll. Photos, however, are strictly forbidden as they claim that angers Okiku. Over time, the monks there have confirmed many of the paranormal events surrounding the doll to be true, having witnessed much of it for themselves. The most interesting being that the hair does indeed continue to grow, and has to be regularly trimmed by one of the monks. Apparently, they actually sent cut samples of the hair in for scientific analysis, and after examination, it was confirmed that the hair is indeed that of a human child. However, it's worth noting that I personally couldn't find any official reports confirming these tests, so if they did happen, the documentation is not online. They say as long as they keep the doll's hair trimmed, she remains happy and less aggressive in her paranormal activities. However, they also claim that throughout the years the doll has become more powerful and bold, appearing in the dreams of the monks and even those who come to visit. There are claims that her hair now grows more rapidly than ever. Some people have reported witnessing her facial expressions change, and even a particularly more disturbing claim that the mouth of the doll is slowly beginning to open. And if you dare to look closely inside of it, you will be able to see baby teeth beginning to sprout from the porcelain. Now, I can confirm that the doll is real and located at Mannenji Temple. I can't, however, confirm that the doll is actually haunted or that the story of its origins are real. And I am a bit skeptical because there are a few different variations of it with names and other details being changed, which I often consider to be a bit of a red flag when researching a supposedly true story. The stories do, however, all have the same premise and key details. So the variations could just be attributed to the passage of time and the way stories can sort of be altered or told incorrectly when passed on from generation to generation. Something I do find interesting, however, is that an attempt to actually explain Okiku's hair growth has actually been made in the past. Apparently, during the period in which the doll was made, it wasn't uncommon to actually use real human hair on dolls. One method used to install the hair involved folding the strands in half and attaching them to the doll's head at the point of the fold. Over time, this would mean that the threads fastening the hair would deteriorate, resulting in the strands slipping out, which would give the appearance that the hair was growing longer and becoming more messy. This would also explain why test results revealed it to be real human hair if these tests did indeed take place. It doesn't explain, however, that the temple claims that the hair still grows and needs to be cut frequently, or any of the other paranormal activity surrounding the doll for that matter. So I'll leave this one up to you. Do you believe that within Mannenji Temple is a doll with the spirit of a little girl trapped inside? A doll that regularly grows real human hair? Or is this just a creepy urban legend that attracts hundreds of tourists every year? Whether or not it's entirely true, the tale of Okiku the doll is certainly an unsettling one that definitely makes it on the list of the creepiest dolls the world has to offer. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe if you are new to the channel for more scary stories like this one. If you have any suggestions for other creepy things you'd like me to discuss on this series, please drop those in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.